Hi. So today I wanted to talk about the question, are personality types real? So, um, I think people might have a gut response to this question, but for me, it requires defining the word real, because this question is like, what does this even mean, right? And I think it's very hard to answer unless you define the word real, which I'm going to take as equivalent to the word true. And so I'm going to give a stab at defining the word true or real, and then kind of giving my answer to typology and personality types and systems. So um, I'd say that roughly speaking, for something to be true or real, it means we can say that an idea is real if it holds under all conditions across time. So 1 plus 1 always equals 2, right? And I know there's like, weird things you can do, but I'm talking about, under the set of natural numbers and normal operators and all that. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Now in the world, 1 plus 1 equals 2. You take two of one thing, you get two. Same as something cannot be true and false at the same time. These are things that are so obvious and so true that we literally, to start our reasoning process, we take these to be true. We just assume that they're true because they're obviously true. And we couldn't get anywhere if we don't assume anything. So, um, we're going to take these as true. They're a priori truths, and they're kind of embedded in the structure of nature, and that's why we find them to be true. So, next, what we can do is we can talk about things like the laws of physics. So, if we model it perfectly, we can take my mouse here, and if I drop it on the floor, to the floor, and we calculate perfectly like its air resistance coefficient and the distance from the ground and all the things that we need to take into account, we can tell exactly when it's going to hit the floor and where it's going to hit the floor and how it's going to bounce around. However, this is like less true than 1 plus 1 equals 2 still. And to show that, um, like the equations behind that are still less true than 1 plus 1 equals 2. The reason why is because um, actually this is a particularly good example because this is how we had Newtonian mechanics for a while, and Isaac Newton laid out these fundamental laws of motion, and we're all like, okay, this is how things move and work. But then Einstein came along and said, actually, no. There's general relativity, and it turns out that these equations don't actually hold for things like outside of Earth and like in bigger scale. Um, so basically, there were more conditions that we were not aware of where these equations did not hold. Therefore, like we thought the equations were 100% true, but they're not because there are conditions that we were not able to test before that we're able to test now. And and referring again to the definition of true is the idea holds under all conditions, is unconditionally true. Okay, so physics is like less true than pure logic and in math. Okay, so then let's we can keep going down this list, right? Physics is obviously a lot more precise than personality types and personality psychology. Um, so what do we think about this? Like, so okay, so I guess it's not true. Well, no, um, it's true to some degree. We have to think about how often it's not true. Um, how often do these conditions stated in the ideas or the core ideas themselves not hold up? And so here, I think we'd also consider that a personality type, insofar as it is real, like the idea is already a little bit inherently flawed, I think, because the idea is that like there are moments in time where you're not 100% operating from your type. Like in attitudinal psyche, for example, you have a main type. Attitudinal psyche is based off reactions, but there are times in your life where you're going to react as different types for a moment, just for a moment. But it's like a generally speaking, like 95% of the time or whatever, you're reacting in this way, but sometimes you don't. So there, I'm going to go ahead and say that um, you can't use that generalization as part of the theory. We're kind of working in binaries here. Things are true or they're false, and they work causally. So to just say, oh, it works most of the time, so the theory is true because that's baked into it, we can't accept that. So let's say attitudinal psyche, a theory that, sometimes you're a different type. That is, it takes points off its truth value. Um, and so to talk further about attitudinal psyche, the structure of it is kind of weird. It's like there are these four elements: uh, emotions, physics, logic, volition. Why are there four? Why are there only four? Could we have divided it up differently and more accurately? Probably, but it's good enough. Then, okay, so like, why is it like self positive and others positive, self negative, others negative? Um, why are those the reactions? Why is it positive and negative? And why is it that the first is others negative and self positive and stuff? And it's like, think about it, there's not really too solid of a reason for this to be the case. And so, um, and also in the CT server Lapis, he said that, I really doubt this theory is true. And I said, well, what do you mean by true? Um, and he said like part of base reality or something. I said like, yeah, I agree. I doubt it too, but it works. It just works somehow. I wouldn't expect it to be the case, but I've seen the types enough to know that, yeah, it actually just kind of works out like that. You generally, for some reason, you have this preference towards reacting towards this information element that we've defined a certain way, and you react uh, a certain way to others and a certain way to yourself in that element pretty consistently. And moreover, you have this specific combination where the first is self-positive, others negative, the second is positive, positive, the third is negative, negative, and the fourth is others positive, self-negative. And for some reason, this actually holds up. I don't know why. I don't see a reason for it to hold up. And I think the lack of kind of elegance in the theory um, also points to the fact that it's not like something base reality. As we kind of already established, it's not base reality because there are some times where you don't react as your type. It's not a causal true false kind of dealio. You have one type and you're done and that's just it, and it's uncomplicated. It's very complicated and messy and not 100% true, but it also works. And so we can say similar things about CT. We could say similar things about Enneagram. And I was kind of thinking about this because I was thinking about Enneagram um, and all the different aspects of the theory, the different triads lining up and tri-types and wings and instincts and all this stuff. And while I want to disregard a lot of it, there's some things that are just like, especially tri-type. It's like, it seems to kind of work. And also a lot of the triads, they also just seem to kind of work. And I have no reason to think that they would work. We really have no reason to think that they would work. But it seems like they kind of do. Still fleshing it out, but the idea is like, is it true? That depends on whether it works or not. It depends on whether it holds or not. Because we already know for a fact, I think for a fact, that we're not getting at base reality. Um, the idea that there's like, nine distinct energies and we embody one of them, and there's also a wing and an instinct. When it's like, it's obviously not base reality. Um, that's insanely statistically unlikely, and it just doesn't make sense. Um, it's probably getting around something that might be part of another theory that is more consistent, or um, that part of Enneagram is in another theory, or the whole of Enneagram is in another theory. And that theory maybe will actually never get there. Maybe it's just too complicated to comprehend ever. Um, and so it's the best we have for now. Is it absolute truth? No, there's just no way. But it kind of works. So I think what you got to do is you got to look at the data and be like, this is actually check out. And so the way I like to learn typologies is I like to, rather than reading descriptions and stuff, which of course I also do, but is like look at the samples and get a taste of the energy or whatever, and the things they say and do and the way they behave. Um, that'll give you a better idea of what it's actually talking about. And I think that was kind of tangent and off topic, um, but because the theory is only how effective it works, right? We're not talking about anything true here. And so it's to measure how effective it is, you need to measure it. To determine how effective something is, you need to validate it, measure it. And so for me, learning the theory is literally just validating it. It's a slow process, but that's how I think that's the only way to really learn like the actual truth of it, um, is by validating it empirically. Um, and it's slow, and of course you can supplement this with lots of explanations and learning and stuff. But it's yeah, it takes months to get into a system, you know. Um, okay, yeah, went on a bit of a tangent there, but yeah, that's my take on whether personality types are real. Are they real? Like base reality? No, hardly anything is. Are they even as good as science? Hell no. Are they real enough? Yeah. I mean, I could hold out for a better idea, but I don't see them. So, and I want to study the psyche and identity and personalities. So, what else am I gonna do? Yeah. Peace.